In this video, I'm going to share with you one of the best ways to start making really great money as a short-term rental host without having to have much capital, without having to buy a property, without even having to be in a place where they allow short-term rentals. It actually works a lot better in places with a lot more short-term rental restrictions. And that is renting out your personal residence on Airbnb. I'm also going to make a second follow-on video where I'm going to talk about why it is that we do this. I've had the question come up quite a bit, like, you guys can afford not to rent out your house, so why do you? Or you can afford to buy and drive fancier cars, or not continue to buy more cash flowing properties. And I want to break down the thought process that we have that has really helped us create a lifestyle that we absolutely love and provide us a lot of freedom and autonomy. But first off, in this video, I don't think that there's an easier side hustle for most people than renting out their personal residence when they aren't going to be there anyway. You know, everyone travels at some point, so why pay for this empty house that you're not in when your house could potentially pay your entire mortgage and you could live cost neutral just by not being there and renting it to someone else? I know there's a lot of variables to consider here, but what I'm just going to do is I'm going to explain how we do this, because we do this regularly, and then you can apply different parts of it to your specific situation. And I know, like anything else, there's going to be a whole bunch of people who listen to this and they say, oh, I can see how that could work. And then there's going to be a whole bunch of other people on the other side of the coin who, no matter what it is, they have that victim mentality, and you'll find reasons why anything won't work. And as Henry Ford says, you're perfectly correct either way. So the three main steps involved in this are: number one, planning it out correctly; number two, screening correctly; and then number three, executing correctly, or actually, renting out your house in the right way. And before I dive in, if you're excited about this, hit that like button so that the algorithm knows and I know to create future content just like this. So first off, planning this out correctly. So you're going to want to present your house in the best light possible. This is a perfect excuse for you to do some of those touch-up things that maybe you've been planning to do. Maybe purge some of your extra stuff that's lying around the house that you've been meaning to get rid of anyway, or just clean it up a bit. It's incredible how much better a house looks just by cleaning it, even if you don't do a whole bunch of updates or anything else. After you've done this, have a professional photographer come in and take a bunch of pictures for your Airbnb listing. It's amazing how many people have terrible, dimly lit iPhone pictures. It might cost you $100 or so to have a pro photographer come in and take some really great pictures. Then you can publish the listing on Airbnb. You just upload your pictures to the listing, answer a bunch of questions, and then once you publish it, you can turn off automatic bookings. So we turn them on all our other properties, our investment properties that are full-time Airbnbs, so it makes it real convenient for your guests to auto book. That's what you want. You want guests to book those as easily as possible. But this is your personal residence. So for your personal residence, you don't want to be surprised by a last-minute booking and somebody showing up at your door. So once you've turned off automatic bookings, then you can set your pricing to a price that's sort of a make me move type price. So since it's your personal residence, there is a little bit more of a headache involved in moving. You can set it up to where it's as convenient as possible, but you don't want to be leaving all the time. And when you do leave, you want to be compensated really well for it. So you want to set it at a price that's like the top end, where you're going to be happy to move out for a few days because it's going to give you a pretty good income. So you can easily do all of this that I just mentioned with no obligation to ever rent your property. This is just to see if there's demand. So you set up the whole listing and you have auto bookings off, so nobody can still book your property, and it might sit there unbooked, and you only get one request over the next year, but it might be a big holiday weekend or a convention or a festival that's in town or something like that, and you might make $5,000 with one booking, but you'll never know that if you don't actually set up the listing and test this out. The second step is screening properly when you do start to get requests for bookings from potential guests. So for our personal residents, we screen pretty heavily to ensure that a potential guest is legit and has a track record of being a great guest in the past. So we want to see multiple 5-star reviews from other hosts. We look for good communication between the guests. We look them up on social media. We make sure their story makes sense for why they're staying. You can get a surprisingly accurate assessment of a potential guest before they arrive with just a little bit of conversation and research up front. Also during this stage, we only accept bookings that are really convenient for us. So we almost never allow last minute bookings, but But if somebody's going to book a 4 to 5 day weekend 3 months from now, during a time that would work well for us to go visit family and friends or go camping or plan our own vacation, then we book them and make a plan that's as convenient for us as possible. Typically, we go and visit family and friends during the times that we have bookings. Finally, the last step, which is the one that's really hard for most people to wrap their heads around, and it's so much simpler than we initially thought, and that is the execution of actually renting out your house. How does this actually work? So this is all we do to prepare our house to be ready for our guests. So first off, we take with us or lock up anything that's valuable, which we actually don't have that much of, and you probably think you have a lot more valuable items than you actually do, but it's pretty easy to lock up or put away valuable items in a room that's locked or take them with you. Then we pack up all the clothes that we're bringing with us, and then we just make room for our guests to use either the closet or some drawers in a dresser. So we move our clothes aside or take with what we're taking with so that they have room for that. And then we put away things like kids' toys into closets or bins, and we just clear out anything that is extra that's sitting out. We leave pictures up. We don't sterilize the house of any traces of us. Our guests, they know that this is our personal house. And honestly, that's what gives it some of the charm. We even leave food in the pantry. It's really not that big of a deal. And finally, the morning of the guest's arrival, we bring in a professional cleaner, and the guests arrive at 4 o'clock. So my wife, 3 kids, and I leave in the morning as the cleaner's arriving, and she cleans the house top to bottom. And the guests pay for this because they're paying a cleaning fee. And it's perfectly clean by the time the guests arrive. Honestly, after the guests leave after a long weekend, it's usually left almost just as clean as when they arrive. So we come back and we change the sheets, we clean a little bit, but we feel like these every so often bookings are a great opportunity to get a free deep cleaning on our house, which we needed anyway. So this is it. That's all there is to it. We've had incredible success with guests renting our place. We've done this for the last couple of years. We don't have any horror stories of any damage or anything like that because we screen our guests really heavily, and we typically rent out our property, our personal property, about one long weekend a month on average. And it's very convenient for us to do this. And by doing that on a 3-4 day weekend at the price point that we set, it typically is about enough to pay our entire mortgage for our property. So it allows us to live essentially cost neutral when it comes to housing because we're willing to do this one weekend a month. However, sometimes we'll get a random booking like we got about a month and a half ago, where we got a week-long request from 3 people who were coming in to do some work in the area, and then they ended up extending twice. So we had to get a little creative about not being in the house, but at the price point that they were extending at, it made it extremely worthwhile to rent out our house for about a month, actually. So I got a chance to visit a lot of relatives, travel a little bit, make quite a bit of money in the process. So that never would have happened had we not listed it and tested this out. And you can't plan every single booking, but you can decide which ones you're going to accept and make it as convenient for you as possible. If you like this video, but you want to take it a step further and not just rent out your personal residence, but you want to invest in other properties that could be high cash flowing short-term rentals, I'm going to be doing a live masterclass to walk you through this process, and you can register for that at livingoffrentals.com/start. So in this masterclass, I'm going to walk you through the process of how to identify a really high cash flow. What are the attributes of the most optimal short-term rental, how to find them, how to finance them, how to buy them, and how to set those up in this masterclass. So again, the link to register is livingoffrentals.com/start. I hope to see you there, but if not, I'll see you in the next video. God bless.